All right, continued. Uh, I hit the off button by accident. Boomer moment, even though I'm not a boomer. But anyway, and I don't know how to splice two videos together, or else I would make this one big video. But because everybody watches part one and nobody watches part two or part three, I've found that from my my days on this venue. But anyway, so be it. Even if I'm talking to an empty theater right now, I'm still going to talk. The event itself. What can I say? You know, abortion gets talked about a certain way, and one of the things they say about it is, people that like the Harris voters were counting on women's vote. Women are going to vote about abortion. Women are upset about abortion, and they're going to vote because they're ticked off about their right to kill their unborn being taken away, by Trump, and they're going to make sure Trump doesn't get in. So women are suburban women especially they're going to vote. They're going to make sure that Harris wins. This is what the media was saying. And I know this for a fact because I went back. I didn't pay attention to the election when it was happening, but I went back and watched later, and that was what they were all saying before. They were saying Puerto Ricans were angry, and they're going to vote for big time in Pennsylvania, and then suburban women are also going to vote big time in Pennsylvania and Georgia and other swing states, and that's going to seal the deal for Harris. And no such thing happened. Now, women might have gone, including suburban women, might have gone and voted who were for whom abortion was a big issue. But they might have voted because it was a big issue for them because they believe it to be a grave evil. There's this presumption, anyway, that there was a presumption that women are going to be pro-legalized abortion. I can tell you that, although I didn't take a head count, I can tell you I think the genders were pretty evenly distributed. And by genders, of course, I'm talking about two. I'm talking two genders, as we all know now. That's been rewritten. There was an executive order, and now it's just the fact. It's just a fact, and you just have to deal with it, whether you like it or not. There are only two, male and female, and the March for Life was not a sausage fest. There were as many, seemingly as many women as men, and I also wanted to say that just reflecting on the crowd, reflecting on the people whom I was surrounded by. It was a very young crowd. It was there were teenagers there. There were college students. Young men and women in their 20s. The crowd was very energetic, very wholesome. They had a kind of spiritedness and an innocence to them, and a sense of fun about them. It was a very youth skewing crowd, right? So not like all a bunch of men who want to control women's bodies, okay, in spite of what the standard leftist would probably say, or feminist would probably say. It's definitely not that, and also a very young crowd. And I'm going to talk about the good and the bad. I'm not because there were things that bothered me a little. But most of it, as far as the crowd goes, as far as the other people, fellow participants in the march, I just, you only get the vibes. You of course don't meet people. You don't, have deep conversations with people. Most people. there was one person that I spoke with, a guy that I'd met, who was from the Diocese of Savannah, but from a different city, who seems like somebody who could be friend material. So the, so maybe that's why God saw to it that I finally get here to meet another actual friend, because it's hard. It's not easy for me to make friends. Anyway, that's a sort of a pitiful little revelation about myself. But anyway, so we were, my new friend and I, talked a lot about philosophical issues and so forth. But I didn't get to do that with most of the people in the crowd. But my vibe on them was, again, these are nice, wholesome, spirited, fun, high energy type of people. So I had a pretty, like a really good impression of the crowd. I think that if liberals went to this event, if there were liberals there with an open mind who attended this event, they would be surprised. They would think it was a bunch of judgmental, prudish old men, who just want to keep the patriarchy going and want to keep women down, and maybe repressed older women who just the Serena Joy types from The Handmaid's Tale. And no, I'm telling you, no, that was not the case. Now, the event began with us being searched, or not searched, but like we took things out of our pockets. They had us walk through a scanner, and so there was all kinds of security before we were walking onto the mall. Kind of like walk like airport style security, except this featured the Secret Service. And I thought to myself, and I rather glibly said to my new friend, well, we know we're safe because the Secret Service is here, and we know what a bang-up job they did in Pennsylvania at the Trump rally. So literally a bang-up job, literally. Now that I think about it, I wasn't even trying to make a pun there. Anyway, yeah, Secret Service guys had us take things out of our pockets and had us walk through a scanner, and had them do the little thing, where they go all over your body with then it goes, if there's something. And it always makes me think of the scene from Spinal Tap, where it makes that noise which is Derek Smalls, the bassist, or it makes that noise at his crotch. And it turns out he's got a stuffed cucumber in his crotch. Anyway, that's just an aside. So we walked in, extensive security. We made our way pretty close to the stage area. And eventually a bunch of people spoke, people who were involved in the March for Life, the woman who's in charge of it now, the woman who's taking over for it, some other people involved in the student movement. There was one extremely articulate girl at Wheaton College who was very impressive. I can't remember her name right now. I think her name was Hannah. I don't remember her last name. But I'm thinking we're going to hear more from that girl. She's got a future. Hannah just also happens to be the name of my daughter. But so there you go. It's just brilliant girls everywhere or have that name. So and what's her name? The Catholic girl, the Catholic blogger, a vlogger. Shoot, her name is dodging out of my addled mind, my addled almost 54-year-old mind. But the pretty brunette girl, you probably know who I'm talking about. She spoke. The one who some some right-wing types were saying was trying to attract simps, the one I mean, because she took a picture of herself where she looked pretty or something. It seemed kind of ridiculous to me. Not that I'm simping. Of course, I'll get accusations for simping too, and I ain't no simp. So anyway, let me see. So and then they brought out some people from Congress. Yes, Mike Johnson spoke. There were a few other people, but the ones that you would care to hear about, the ones who were really high profile, were first of all Florida Governor Mike DeSantis, followed by our VP, our newly minted VP, JD Vance. And that, I think, was the reason for all the security, was the presence of Vance. I should say all the speakers were on a stage that had like a bulletproof glass in front of them, which was, really, really interesting and sad to see, but that's the way it goes. Now, it was interesting to hear from high profile speakers speak, and all of that. Generally speaking, I wish there had been. I have two. I don't know if they're complaints or just two things that I wish were different. The first is relatively minor, and the second is more important, I think. I'll start with a more minor thing. This was very explicitly done as a Christian event, and there was particularly maybe as a Catholic oriented thing. There was a priest who gave a prayer before the march began. There was also a Protestant minister somebody from the Missouri Synod of the Lutheran Church who was also there. But I would say all in all, Catholics, we were, we of the Diocese of Savannah, which encompasses not just Savannah but other parts of the state of Georgia, we were in some discussion of what we thought the percentage of the crowd, what their religious composition might be, and we were guessing anything from 50 to 80% maybe Catholic. There were also some Orthodox priests who were along too on the stage. They didn't say prayer, but there was like a Catholic Orthodox convocation that were represented, but the Catholic priest gave the prayer this year. So I kind of wish that I don't want to say I wish they would tone down the religious stuff, because I think the religious stuff is fine, but I don't think this should be a religious issue. I don't think abortion is a religious issue. I think people, I think it's perfectly, it seems to me that whoever you are, if you have a well-formed conscience, you can see that there's something really bad, something really wrong with abortion. When you look at it directly, when you see it for what it is, when you don't sugarcoat things, I think you could easily be an atheist or an agnostic and be opposed to abortion. And I'm not saying we should cater to atheists and agnostics, but I mean, maybe something there. And I say this as a Catholic, I wish there was more about the event that would, make it clear that, people of different faiths and some of no faith, or some who are still questioning their faith, still discerning their faith, as it were, that they're all welcome, and that they all, that anyone with a well-formed conscience can take part in this event and feel strongly about this cause. So that's one thing I would say. And again, the second thing I would say that I feel more strongly about is that this year especially, I don't believe it's been so much this way in years past, just from what I've seen generally, although this is the only one I've been to. So this is the only one I've heard every single word of every single speaker. But this year, I think it became more of a partisan affair, with Republicans going up and, talking about about Democrats not being pro-life, and it's true that most Democrats are not pro-life. I mean, that's true, and lots of rah-rahing about Trump and stuff and the new administration. And I think Trump and the new administration and Vance and the rest, to the degree that they've done good things for the pro-life cause, they are certainly to be praised. But I think there's a way of doing that without it being this is a political rally where we're courting voters for the Republican Party. I would like to see it just be more, even though abortion becomes a partisan issue, it shouldn't be one. It really shouldn't. It should be. It's a matter of conscience, and conscience is not a question of partisanship. So I would like for there to have been less of a focus on the part of some of the speakers of just talking about whatever about abortion as a political football. Also interesting, and I should also say Trump himself. He didn't appear live for this rally, but he appeared via video and said some things. And he has attended a March for Life rally in the past. I think in 2020 he attended. He was actually there. I would just so let me think. What else do I have to say about that? Okay, I remember what I wanted to say about that. There was no being down on Trump or Vance for in a sense sort of kicking abortion to the curb for the election, for which I know they didn't really talk about it that much, and they were sort of saying, no, we're not gonna push for, it's up to the states now, and that's just the way it is. That's the way we're going to leave it. And I think that some pro-life people maybe weren't happy about that. But there wasn't that was all. Nobody thought about that at all. There was no heckling. There was no booing. Nobody was shouting. Why didn't you talk about this during the election? It was sort of all forgiven and forgotten, which was interesting. J.D. Vance, of course, is a converted Catholic. The phenomenon of converted Catholics who are now in positions of power and who are ruling Catholically, with Catholic principles. Although, as I've said before, you needn't be Catholic or be anything to see abortion as a moral horror. But anyway, that's an interesting phenomenon to observe. Vance is Catholic, as was the outgoing president, but he did not govern Catholically at all. So he didn't. But who knows? Again, not to be mean or anything, but who knows how much of his mind is even there. But I think even when his mind was there, he wasn't all that principled. And the Democratic Party has basically made it so that if you're anything but if you believe in anything except that an unborn child should be killed up to the moment of birth, and perhaps even after the moment of birth, then they give you hell, and you're basically not welcome there. So that's just the reality of things, and that has partisan consequences. But I think you can handle it in a nonpartisan way, in my opinion. So so then the march itself took place, and it was, again, I don't know how many people showed up, but the streets were crowded. We marched, and some people were singing songs, some people were singing hymns. There were a lot of groups represented. There were some people holding up statues of Mary. There were bagpipers playing Ave Maria, and it was cool. There was a lot of like I said, it was a lively crowd. It was, if you'd been there among that crowd, you probably wouldn't know that this was a hot button issue, because there were basically no counter protesters. There was one guy only that we saw, who was standing in the road holding a sign saying something like, Sherman should have burned more of the South. And I don't even know, like, he just stood there silently holding up his handmade sign, which was I don't know, not the most coherent, which was hateful, but not really making a coherent point in any way, except that I guess he just despised people who were pro-life or conservative or from the South or something. I don't know, but he just stood there mutely, and we just all walked past him, and that was it. There were no counter protesters, and that was really strange. I was not sure what to think of it. We passed people on the sidewalk, and they all seemed to be supportive. They were all holding up. All of the ones that I saw were holding up pro-life signs and showing support. And there was somebody playing "Sweet Caroline" on guitar, getting marchers to sing along. So yeah, the absence of counter protesters, I don't know what to. I was expecting to see them come out. I was expecting to see some raw hatred. Maybe some of them, angry and spitting, and because I know not to say that, if that's your cause, if you're pro legalized abortion, that you necessarily have that kind of temperament, but it's just that's what I have seen from counter protesters. They just seeing pro-life protesters just seems to bring out a real hatred, that one could almost call demonic. I wouldn't put that label on it immediately, but they just get very, very angry and livid and hostile, and because it's almost like an animalistic sort of thing. But they weren't around this year, and I wonder why that is. Did Trump did all of Trump's executive orders just make them? Did Trump sign an executive order that barred them from being able to counter protest, from physically being able to counter protest? I know that's not the truth. I'm not the case. I'm being facetious, but I don't know why they weren't there. But they weren't, except for that one weirdo, and he hardly even counts. He was just standing there with his sign. So yeah, that was it. And by the time it was over, my feet were sore. We'd been standing a long time in the mall. Then we walked for a long time after that. And it was a youthful crowd, but there were also some older some older folks there too, include like for instance myself, and people even older than me, if you can believe that. Um, so so yeah, once it was over with, I kind of I just felt like going back to my expensively appointed hotel room, which I got a discount from by the diocese, um, and came here and chilled and watched uh, you know, I don't know, reruns of The Office on TV for the last hour and a half or so. Uh, and it's just one of those things where I'm not bored. I'm really I'm just tired. It's been a long full day. It's been a good day. Uh, but it took a lot out of me. Physically speaking, it's a grueling, taxing thing, but that's what we do. It's the least we can do. It's the very least that I feel like I could do. Uh, so I conclude. I'll wrap up my thoughts on this whole thing. I faced a lot of obstacles finding my way up here. Excuse me. Um, I didn't think I'd be able to. I thought, the damn winter storm that never happens. That just happened to hit Savannah at this particular time. It happened, and then I didn't think that the flights would actually be canceled because the storm was over. But apparently, the runway was still icy, and they just didn't. They just couldn't. They just had to cancel all arrivals and all departures for the next couple days. But a passage opened. I walked through and found my way here, and feel that I was meant to be here. Not in any grandiose way. It doesn't have to be grandiose. We're all important to God. And what happens to us, he causes these things to happen to us, or he lets these things happen to us for reasons of his own. And I don't usually lecture about things like that, or go in detail about things like that, because it's not an easy thing for me to make sense of either. When things happen that are sad or tragic, or even just in this case, it would have been bitterly disappointing if I hadn't been able to make it. And it must have been disappointing for the others who couldn't make it, and especially for our bishop, the bishop of the Diocese of Savannah, who seems like a good guy. And would have been great to have him here. But to be the only representative from the city of Savannah, maybe not the only one from Savannah, but the only one from the Catholic Diocese of Savannah who was here on the basis of being from the Catholic Diocese of Savannah. I feel like it was something that was obviously meant to be, and I'm glad that it happened for me. I think I've probably made a new friend, as I said, which is always a good thing, always nice. Met some nice people, the people I marched with, the others from the diocese, who came out from other places in the state where they weren't snowed in, where the airport didn't close down and cancel all their flights. And I hate Washington, D.C., generally speaking. When I come here, I don't have a good vibe off of this town. It seems like a town that's full of demons and bureaucrats. I walk a block, and I see this bureaucratic building that's like a whole block long, and it's really weird. And I talked about this being the sepulchral city which is not me. I didn't come up with that phrase. It was something from Joseph Conrad's Heart of Darkness, which he was talking about Brussels, Belgium. But when I've come to DC, it's always that's long been my assessment of this city. It's an unreal city, as T.S. Eliot would say, and it seems to be full of. It's full of energy and hustle and bustle, but I think there's a lot of evil that gets done here on many different levels. So this is one of those times where good invades a deeply evil, depraved place. Good in the form of the marchers that I met today, that I saw today, who seem to be, again, convicted and conscience driven and devout in whatever way they were devout. So I'm thankful to God. Thanks God for letting me come here and take part in this event. And I have a lot to think about, a lot to meditate on. So thanks for watching. And in case you were wondering why I was in DC, that's why. It's not because I'm a spook. It's not because I'm a glowy, or who knows, maybe I am. You never know, do you? You just have to take my word for it. And what is my word to you? I'm just some guy who posts videos online. But there you go. My thoughts, my experiences. March for Life 2025. God bless. Take care.